Hey everyone, this is Alfred from The Prompted, and let's grow your Shopify store. So we like to learn from the biggest e-commerce brands, grab strategies and tactics that are working well for them, and show you how you can use them too. And I'm really excited for today's video. We've been working on this feature for a little while now, and it's auto-generated in-cart product upsells. So let's take a look at brands like Casetify, Blissy, and Snow. They're all using a cart drawer with recommended upsells that complement the items already in cart. And without needing to navigate anywhere else, you can directly add these extra upsell products to your cart. So this is a great way to boost your AOV. Now, there's apps that you can install with a similar feature like Rebuy or Upcart, but these can cost hundreds of dollars a month. So what we're going to show you is another way without needing to install any apps. We're going to show you what our customization looks like. We're going to show you the features and settings that you can use with it. And then we're going to show you step-by-step instructions on how you can add it to your store. For the installation portion, we'll be using some code, but don't worry, it's just copy and paste. When you're done watching this video, just follow the link in the description to subscribe to our free newsletter, and then we'll send that over to you. On top of that, you'll get some simple daily insights that will help you scale your Shopify store. All right, let's get started. In-cart product upsells. Okay, so we're in our demo store now, and you can see that we already have some items in cart. Let's pull it open. You can see that our cart drawer slides in, and we have our 2 items, and we also have this new section with upsells right in the cart. So you can have it so that some products may not have any variants. Your products may have multiple variants, so you can adjust the selection, and then once you can just add it to cart, and it'll directly add it right into your cart. And then you get some new recommendations from there. It's also auto-generated, and it takes into account what you already have in the cart. So we've got these t-shirts here, so it's recommending other t-shirts. Maybe if you have more shoes in your cart, so we could increase the quantity here of shoes. And we start to see that we're getting, a shoe option showing up. Add that to cart, and then maybe we're going to start seeing even more shoes, right? So there's it's smart enough to take into account what you already have, and we'll get into a little bit more of the logic of how these recommendations are made. But it's using a combination of Shopify algorithms and our own custom algorithm that we applied on top of it. So this is what the customization looks like. We have some settings to go along with it. So let's take a look. Okay, so we're in our theme editor here, and we've created a new theme settings section right here, cart drawer recommendations. And in here, we've got a few different categories. We've got some formatting settings, and then we've got some upsell selection settings, and auto recommendation settings. Okay, so let's start from the top. Right here, this first checkbox here is just to enable the cart drawer. It's a master switch. So you can see here, let's just add something to cart. Okay, so they're showing up here. If we take that out, it's just gonna turn it off entirely. You just don't get them. And so your cart drawer is essentially what it would be without it. Okay, so obviously we wanna keep that on. Next, we can change the background color. So we've got this grayish color here, but depending on your theme, maybe you wanna use a completely different color. So let's maybe change this to blue. And you can now see you've got this blue color in the background. Doesn't really work for our brand, so let's just go back to a gray. Okay. Next, we can adjust the heading color. So, this text and color actually. So maybe you want this to be, pairs well with, or it could be, here it shows up like this, or it could be often purchased with, whatever text you want, you can put that there. And then we can also change the color. So maybe let's make that red, for example. Then you can see that we've got this red color now. So we'll go back to darker black. Okay. Next, we can change the font size, right? So if we want this bit bigger, we can do that. Smaller as well, we can do that. Whoops. Let's keep that there. So we'll make that smaller. Okay. Next, we've got the font weight. So normal, bold, bolder. Again, this is all just with the heading. So we can make it even a stronger bold if we want, or normal text. Okay. So now we've got this media width setting. And so this number just represents the percentage of the width that we're taking. So this is 45%, so it's almost half of the width here. And depending on your store, you may want to adjust this smaller or bigger, depending on what additional information you have on the right side, whether you have variants that need to be selected. So the spacing of that can be controlled with this. So maybe we want to make that a 40, for example. Then this will be, here, let's make it more drastic. So you can see here the picture is a little bit smaller, gives the text a little bit more space. You know, these options all have variants, so you know, it's going to look a certain way. It's going to be a little bit taller on the right side, but we could also just, you know, make this a little bit bigger so that some of that height gets taken up. Next, we've got this option to hide variant titles. If we uncheck this, we're going to see that the variant titles, color, size, material are going to start showing up. Personally, I think it just takes up too much space, so let's just hide that. Next, you can change the style, right? So if we have, if we want to make this, let's actually, okay, let's start with some swatches actually. So we've got this prompted original t-shirt. We can set this up to use the native swatches from Shopify. So we'll just hit done there. You can see the swatches show up. We'll save, and we'll just save that. We've got some bundled products connected to this, but we don't need to worry about that for this video. And then let's come back here. Let's add this other product to cart and then take out this one. So the one we just took out is the one with the swatches now. And so we can say, okay, let's put drop down with circle swatches, and you can see that it shows up now here for this product. Now the other products don't have swatches assigned to it, so they're not going to show up. But yeah, you've got your swatch showing up there. If it's square, it'll show up with a square there. And similarly, if you actually change this to pills, then you got the swatches showing up there as well. And for this variant, it's just going to be buttons because there's no swatches for it. So, you know, you have some options to select how you want your variants to show up. Personally, I think it's best to use the dropdown, just because it's, you know, if you've got some very lengthy variants, right? So you either have a lot of variants or the names are a little bit longer, then they're just going to take up too much space if you use pills. So drop down keeps it fixed. You know exactly how much space it's going to use because everything else is hidden in the drop down. All right, so let's move on. We've got the upsell product selection settings. Okay, so right now we're set up to use auto recommendations. So these recommendations here are all automatically generated. And then, so the generation is done by Shopify. So every product that we have in the cart, Shopify is going to generate some products for that. And then we use our own algorithm to sort through those options and then rank them as from most relevant to least relevant, and then show the most relevant ones. Now, on our demo store, we actually don't have any purchases on it, so the recommendations aren't going to be the greatest, but the recommendations are going to be using the Shopify recommendations API, and they take into account the purchase history, which in this case, this store has none. It takes into account product descriptions, and then it takes into account the collections that the products are part of. So that's how this is done. And you actually do have some control over how this how they show. So let's go to the apps area. Okay, and then we can go to the recommendations tab. And you can see here that we've got complementary products and related products. And so we're actually tapping into these features right here. So in this case, related products are going to be the automatically generated recommendations, and complementary products, we'll get to that in a second. So let's just, for example, go into here. You can see here that we've got these related products, and these are all auto-generated. So this is the most relevant one, and this is the least, well, the 10th most relevant one. But we can actually add our own products. So let's say if we wanted to add socks, socks. There we go. So we could, no, this one here. We can add that, and then it'll just add it to the top here, and then this will become the most relevant product for the most relevant related product for this product here, and that will end up showing up over here. Now, custom options. So actually, we can show this. So let's go back, and we're going to look for the product with custom options in it. There we go. Okay, so right now it's suggesting the prompted original t-shirt as the top. And you can see here, prompted original t-shirt. Now, if we select a different product, right, let's just do those socks again. Add those in and save. Then let's just save this right now, and then we can get a refresh. You can see here, now the socks are going to be recommended, right? So while we have these auto-generated products, you can actually select manual products as well and stick them in here. So that's how you can control on a product-to-product level which products get recommended and will show up in the cart. Now, if we just added a different product to cart, right, then we actually start to shift some of these recommendations down, because now that we've got these 2 t-shirts, then maybe these other products become more relevant. And in this case, it actually is, because these 3 shirts here are both being recommended by by these 2 products, whereas the socks are only recommended once. Anyway, we'll get into a little bit more about the algorithm a little bit later, but just for now, all you need to know is that the search and discovery app, related products, these auto-generated options you see here are going to be the ones that get prioritized in your upsell section. Now, we have another option. We've got complementary products as well. And so in this case, it's going to be taking from the list of complementary products. And in this case, you actually have none. But we can add, we could add the socks in here as well, for example. And then, maybe all 3 of these socks. And then these become complementary products that we can show with this product. And so these are always going to be manually selected. There's no auto-generated products here. So you can, if you want to really tightly control which products get recommended with essentially your whole store, then this is the option for you, right? And so in this case, we can see here, we're just getting these 3 products here because these are being recommended by the prompted original t-shirt. Custom options, doesn't have any recommendations yet until I save this. Which I think I did actually. Okay, so let's refresh. Let's save. Okay, let's take a look. Now you can see these socks showing up because they are being recommended by our complementary products here. Now, I think in most cases, you can just use the auto recommendations. I think the recommendations are already pretty good, and you don't need to really tightly control what products are being shown. All right, so the next category of settings that we want to look at are the recommendation settings. In here, we're controlling how the products show up in our recommendations. And so the first number here is to adjust the pool of products that we can be using. So for every product in your cart, we'll generate some options and then we're going to rank them. So if you want to increase the number that are recommended per cart item, you can do that. But it does end up becoming a little bit more calculation heavy. So you can kind of play around with this to see what kind of results you get. But if you're happy with the results you're getting at 4, then you're going to just leave it at 4. Next, we have these weighting factors. And so we've got 3 things that we take into account. So the first is how many of each individual item do you have in cart? So for example, if we have 2 of these in the cart and only 1 of these, then we're going to say that the recommendations for this product become more important. Next, we've got how many times a recommendation shows up. So if the recommendation shows up here and here, then it's going to be considered a little bit more important and it's going to rank higher. And then finally, the position. So each recommendation, each product will get a series of recommendations. The first one is the most relevant, and the 5th one or the 4th one, and if you only have 4 being generated, is less important. And so we're just going to prioritize products that are ranked a little bit higher. And then what you can do with these weights is for the factor that you care about more, you can slide this up or down, where sliding down means it's less important, sliding up means it's more important. So, I mean, you don't need to really know what these mean that much. You can just play around with the settings and just see what kind of options that come out. And I think for the vast majority of you, you don't need to touch any of this, but we've given it to you so that if you want to have a little bit more control over what shows up, then that option is available to you. Okay, so those are all of our settings for our in-cart upsell feature. Let's now add it to your store. Okay, so we're now in our themes admin area, and we've just added a brand new version of Dawn. It's the latest version, 15.2.0 at time of recording, and all we've done is just rename it. It's a fresh new version. Now, if you're updating an existing version of Dawn or any of the other free Shopify themes, then you're going to want to duplicate your theme, because we're going to be making some changes to the theme code, and if anything goes wrong with the installation process, then you're going to want to have that backup so that you can always go back to the previous version. Now, the changes that we're going to be making in this tutorial are going to be quite extensive. There's over 10 files that we're updating, because while the upsell is in the cart and it may seem like it's just isolated there, it's actually touching a lot of different parts of the code and your theme. So we are going to give you all of that code so that you can copy and paste it into your store. But do watch through this whole video, because I'll show you exactly how to use the code and where to place it and how it's all connected. So if you want to get this into your store, you're going to have to follow along. To get the code, all you need to do is join our free newsletter. We'll share daily insights on how you can scale your brand. But once you joined, then we'll send over the link to you so that you can work with it. Okay, so let's get started and let's add this to our store. So first step, edit code. And the first file we're going to be updating is the settings_schema.json. And in here, this is where all the theme settings are. So if we just open up our theme editor, so all the theme settings here are going to be controlled in this file. And so we are going to add an additional setting underneath the cart here. So we'll just Control F cart, and we'll highlight this curly bracket here. We'll see the pair right underneath, comma, paste. Okay, so let's save that. Next, we are going to update the snippet cart drawer. I misspelled that. Okay, so you're gonna have two cart drawer.liquid files. The first one's a section. It's just gonna look like this. This is not the file we want. We want the cart drawer.liquid file. And in here, we're gonna scroll down to the footer. If you can't find it right away, then you can Control F footer. And you can see here, we've got this closing element cart drawer items. We're gonna go right above that, and we're going to paste in our code here. Okay, so let's save that. Next, we're going to create a new liquid file. So it's going to be a snippet, so make sure it's not going to be a section, but a snippet. Add a new snippet, and then cart drawer recommendations.liquid. Okay, so we're going to copy and paste our code in for that. Let's save. And then next we're going to create another snippet. So let's do that. And this one's going to be called the cart drawer upsell product.liquid. And then we're going to paste in our code for this. Save. And then next we have another new liquid file. This time it's a section. Okay, so we're going to close that snippets folder, open up sections, add a new section. It's going to have the same name, cart drawer upsell product. And then in this case, we're going to be referring to the one we just created. So let's just delete everything in here, paste that, save. Okay, we're gonna go back to snippets, and it's another new snippet file. This time it's going to be called the product variant picker cart upsell. And we'll just hit done there, and we'll paste in our code. Okay, next we've got the price.liquid file. So this one is an edit. We're going to open it up, price.liquid. And then the first step is we're going to Control F, and we're going to search for the settings.currency code enabled. And we're just going to actually just replace it with the currency code enabled, so without the settings. And then we're going to assign, let's replace all. And then we're going to assign what that currency code enabled variable is, just right up here. So depending on the situation, it's going to be this false, or it's going to be set to the settings. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we are going to edit our next file, which is the product variant options.liquid. Okay, let's open that up. And then in here, we are going to assign some variables near the top. So let's do that right here after the product form ID. I just realized I didn't save this, so let's save this. Let's come back here. Okay, next we are going to be adding a condition. So if is upsell is going to be added to both the input ID here and the input name. So we're going to place this after the section ID or input ID here. And then for input name, we'll just put it at the very end. Okay, and then finally, we're gonna scroll a little bit lower. We're gonna see here, we've got this shape, block.settings.swatch shape. And we're just going to delete block.settings and just leave the swatch shape only. Okay, so let's save that and let's move on. So next we've got assets. So let's add a new asset. We're going to create a blank file. It's going to be JS and it's going to be cart drawer recommendations.js. Okay. So let's open this up, copy and paste, save. Almost there, just a couple more changes. So next we've got the cart.js file. And in here, we are going to be editing the cart items class. So this one right here. The first change is going to be in the constructor. So that's this method here. And we're gonna wrap this .onChange event with a condition. So you can just kind of paste it in there. And then you can see that the onChange event is inside this if statement. Next, we're going to make some edits to the reset quantity method here. We're just adding a few lines, but to make it easy, we can just copy and paste on top of it. And same thing with set validity. We're just adding a few lines. We can just make it simpler and copy and paste on top of it. And then finally, we've got the validate quantity. We're just adding a few new lines into here. So we'll do that. Save. All right, last file, almost there. So let's go to theme.liquid, and we are going to be scrolling a little bit lower to where the JavaScript is being called. And sorry, it's probably a little lower. Okay, so right here. So we've got if settings.cart equals drawer type, then we are going to be rendering the cart drawer.js. We are actually going to add a little bit more code to here. We're going to be checking to see if our cart upsell is enabled, and if so, then we're actually going to add a couple extra JavaScript files. So that's it. Those are our changes. There's a lot of interdependency between these files. A lot of them are referring to each other, but in the big picture, what we've done here is we've added settings to control our new feature. We've added some liquid files, which controls how the upsell section gets displayed. And then we added some JavaScript that controls how those products get retrieved, how we sort them, and then how we end up ultimately adding them onto our cart drawer. So what we can do now is we can refresh our page here, right? There's no setting here, but once we refresh, there we go, shows up right there. We've got some items in cart, but we have to change this to a cart drawer. It only works for the cart drawer, by the way. So let's save that. And then now we can, well, let's open this up. So we've got our products in there, but once we enable our cart drawer recommendations, then we start to see our recommendations, and then you can customize it and adjust it to make it work for your store. So that's our in-cart product upsells. We showed you how it works, we explained the settings so you can make it your own, and we showed you how you can add it to your store. If you want to add this customization or any of the other customizations that we share on this channel, then just join our free newsletter and we'll send it over to you. But that's it for today. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.